Hey there, everyone. Rick Ucchino here again for SK Wrestling, and this Sunday, the WWE is expanding its documentary programming with the debut of Heaven on the WWE Network. Tells the story of Heaven Fitch and her journey to winning the Boys State Wrestling Championship in North Carolina. WWE Hall of Famer Beth Phoenix involved with this project. She joins me now to talk about it, among a couple other things. Beth, it is an absolute pleasure to talk to you. How are you doing today?
Aw, what an introduction. Thanks, Rick. I'm doing great, but now I'm doing better.
Anything I can do to put a smile on somebody's face, that's going to be my job.
That you certainly did.
Fantastic. WWE always does a spectacular job with these documentaries, their documentary series. This past Sunday, they released Big E's 24 special. I highly encourage anyone to check it out if they haven't watched that one yet, because that one was really, really good. This is going to be the first in a new genre of storytelling for the network. Tell us a little bit more about Heaven and what folks should expect to see when they tune in.
Yeah, so, it was super exciting to be a part of this project as we kind of branch out into different human interest stories that we think will really strike a chord with our audience. You know, our documentaries have just been such a compelling part of our content as of late, and we expect Heaven's documentary to be no different. It's a story really of this wonderful, sweet, she is just this shy woman that had this larger-than-life dream. And she really, she let nothing and nobody stand in her way in her pursuit of kind of walking the road less traveled. She had a dream of, becoming a wrestler and being a state champion. And because there wasn't an avenue on a girls wrestling team at her school, she joined the boys team and pursued that with a passion. And really, her talent shined through until she made history as the first female state champion here in North Carolina. And
this is a story that hits close to home for you. You yourself often went against the guys during your amateur wrestling career. Did you face a lot of the same challenges as Heaven did? Because that's not an easy thing to do.
Oh, heck yes. I think, Heaven has mentioned to me that she, has experienced a lot of detractors, from a sexist standpoint, where, people question your intentions and your motives and how, what are your intentions in doing this? And are you looking for attention? Are you trying to get your name out there? But, I think with time and persistence, she more than proved that, it was talent that brought her there, but she was just dedicated to winning and, accomplish that after putting in that time.
Talking about your own journey, what was the hardest part of all of that for you personally, back in the day?
So, to put it in perspective, I got a figure that in 1990 there was 100 female wrestlers in the United States, like on high school wrestling teams. And I joined our wrestling team in 1997. So at that time, it just really there wasn't a lot of girls doing it. And thus, not a lot of interest because the groundswell wasn't really happening yet at that time. So, for me, it was intimidating to kind of like step up and again fight against the grain of like that questioning, like, why are you here? What's your intentions? Like, I felt like a constant need to prove myself 10 times more than the boys because, I had to show that I was there for the love of the sport and to be an athlete and not just attention seeking.
When it comes to breaking those glass ceilings, the way that you did, the way that Heaven did, what was it that helped you push through all of the adversity and all of the added pressure that kind of came along with that?
Yeah, I mentioned this to Heaven, too, because I know that this is something she's had to deal with her entire athletic career. And I think you have to there's always going to be detractors, there's always going to be haters, and sometimes that comes from a place of just not understanding and not appreciating. And that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But you have to put that in its own box. You have to put, the negativity in its own space. And you got to focus on those that support you and are there for you and will be encouraging to you when you want to grow. And you know what? Eventually the haters will come along, and if they don't, that's okay too.
So you are providing the narration for this project. You got to meet, Heaven, talk to her. What was the best part about getting to work with her and getting to work on this project?
Yeah, so the best part of this, obviously, we have the similarities in our story. Although Heaven kicked butt a hell of a lot better than I did, and she was way more successful than me as an amateur wrestler. But, you know, I think the cool parallel is that I'm a mom. I have 2 young girls, and so I have just so much love in my heart for seeing a story like this with this young girl succeed and have the passion to stand up for something in progression and in you know, women in sports, because it affects my children, my girls. And someone like Heaven is a role model to, again, continue to break these glass ceilings that there should be no limits placed on anybody because of gender.
The documentary, again, is called Heaven. It's going to drop on the WWE Network this Sunday, so do make sure to check it out. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Beth, while I do have you here, I did want to talk just a little bit about your husband's comeback, because I started watching wrestling in 1997, 1998, right when the Brood was first formed. I grew up watching Edge's career unfold, and I've always been a big fan. So his comeback, and then subsequent second comeback, I cannot put into words just how happy it has made me. You know, you were there on the front lines for all of this, from the fight to get back into the ring, you know, seeing where things started, the bumps in the roads along the way, and now knowing that he's roughly 5 weeks away from main eventing WrestleMania. You know, what has this journey been like for you both?
Oh, you know, it makes me so happy to hear you say that, you know, the nostalgia attached to, you know, the late 90s, early 2000s, and that crew of performers that really, you know, broke WWE, WWF, you know, mainstream at that time, like, and then getting to kind of like dip our toes back into remembering that. And, you know, and I know from a personal side, like, there was a lot of grief when Adam was forced to retire the first time in 2011. And, you know, he just kind of wrapped his head around that. And then, like always, he picked himself back up and he's like, well, I have to move forward and be prepared for a life without wrestling. And fortunately, we were able to have our family in that time, our 2 daughters. So, you know, we had a lot going on. He was acting, and we kind of had left wrestling in the rear view. But this kind of miraculous, you know, crack in the door, this opening where, you know, he began to entertain, like, well, maybe this is possible. Like, we certainly never thought that it would come to this point, or rather, I never thought or expected it. But it seems like Adam has this, like, ability to, like, manifest things, whatever he dreams up. Like, he can just kind of make it happen. I don't know. He's got this, like, magic superpower. So, you know, when he told me he was going to do this and A, B, and C, like, I believed him. I was just like, okay. You know, I got in the passenger seat beside him and did everything I could to support him on this journey. And I'm just so happy for him because there's so many amazing parallels. You know, this WrestleMania is the 10-year anniversary of his retirement, you know, his last match. And, you know, the Royal Rumble was 11 years from when he won the prior Royal Rumble. There's just all these magical numbers attached to this. And it's really special, especially in, you know, in a time and place in our world where getting some, like, positivity is super huge right now. So I loved that, you know, all the world gets to share in this adventure with us.
Yeah, and he's in the best shape of his life. I mean, he hasn't missed a beat. Seriously, I mean, in the time that he was gone, like, I didn't realize how much I missed him until he was back, and just watching him work now is spectacular, and it is a joy to get to watch him however long that this lasts.